It is election day, and so far so good. This is a live picture from Sky 5 right now, live over a Triangle polling place. And as you can see, things are moving smoothly there. Folks inside, maybe attributed to the record number of early votes, that there's no lines there.
There's a lot at stake, not only in the race for president, but dozens of other state and local positions up for grabs. We will walk you through some of the local races making headlines.
And the weather's great for it. We're seeing partly cloudy skies and mild temperatures, a high of 80 degrees. I'll show you how close that is to a record high for today.
It is Election Day 2024, and all 50 states are open for voting as of this moment, noon today. Polls have been open across our state for nearly 6 hours now. We have seen a steady stream of voters at several locations heading into buildings to cast their ballots.
And it looks like most of those visitors are inside the building because as far as we've been seeing from Sky 5, no visible lines outside some of those polling places. And so the lunch hour would be a good time to go and vote if you haven't already. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Renee Chu.
And I'm Jeff Hogan. Great to have you along here. Thanks for joining us. WRAL is your trusted source for complete coverage of Decision 2024 all day and over the next hour here, especially with us. We begin with WRAL's Chelsea Donovan in North Raleigh with a look at how things are going there today. Chelsea.
As you mentioned, no long lines here at Green Road Community Park. We're actually between Capitol and New Hope. It's been pretty steady all morning, about 100 or so people coming in out of these doors here. Now, we know that this is during the lunch hour, so there is a little bit of a lull. And as Renee said, this would be the perfect time to cast your vote. Of course, we learned yesterday 4.5 million North Carolinians have already cast ballot in that early voting period. That's about 57% of registered voters. However, we do know about 1 million people are expected to vote today. Now let's get to some video we shot earlier this morning. We're at one of just 2,600 polling places across the state, open until about 7:30 tonight. And if you are in line at 7:30, the state says you will be voting. Now don't forget to check your polling place, and of course you want to bring vacation. Now, what's at stake? Of course, we've got a razor-thin margin for president between Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump. Trump did take our state back in 2020. Of course, there's the race for governor at stake between Josh Johnson. Then you've got attorney general, mayor for the city of Raleigh, and of course, several House congressional seats, just to name a few. Now, we talked to some voters here who say they're a bit.
It's been a catch-22 in regards to our candidates and not really knowing what direction our economy is going to go, not really knowing who's going to sustain what they preach or what they proclaim that they're going to do for our country to make it a greater place. It's just been an overall riffraff.
And we apologize for those audio issues during Chelsea's live report. It may have been hard to hear, but bottom line, here's what we want you to know. The polls are open until 7:30 tonight. If you are in line at 7:30, you will get to vote, and don't forget to bring your photo ID. No matter who wins the White House, the result will be historic. If Donald Trump wins, he will be the first president since Grover Cleveland who was voted out of the White House and then voted back in. If Vice President Kamala Harris wins, she will be our country's first woman president. Michelle McConaughey is in the studio with why North Carolina will be in the national election spotlight. Michelle.
Yeah, Renee, we are one of 7 states that will essentially determine the next president. This is a map that will bring you up to the minute numbers of the presidential race. We will start using this map tonight as those results come in. But the final poll data from realclearpolling.com, which averages dozens of polls, including our WRAL News poll, it shows just how close the races here in North Carolina. Former President Trump has a polling advantage of just over 1 point over Vice President Harris. Both candidates made one last push for support in Pennsylvania yesterday.
It is time for a new generation of leadership in America. So Pittsburgh, listen, we got 1 day left to get this done. So now we work to get out the vote.
So in conclusion, with your vote tomorrow, we're going to fire Kamala, we're going to save America, and we're going to cut your taxes, end inflation, slash your prices, raise your wages, and bring thousands of factories back to America and back to North Carolina.
And former President Trump won the state of North Carolina in the last 2 elections. Vice President Harris is working to close the margins and flip the state. Polls close tonight at 7:30 here in North Carolina. And coming up in the next half hour, we'll tell you why this race may be hard to call tonight.
Michelle, thanks. The race for North Carolina's next governor has gained national attention. Today, we could learn whether Attorney General Josh Stein or Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson will move into the governor's mansion. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey was at Chavis Community Center in Raleigh, where Stein greeted voters this morning.
Voters are casting their ballots here at the Chavis Community Center. The energy is high. You may even be able to hear some music here behind me. And if you know anything about this polling location, you know that people are voting there on the 2nd floor. So we'll try to zoom in to show you where people are casting their ballots. But let's get you straight to the breakdown of where we are right now in the governor's race. Results from our WRAL News poll show Attorney General Josh Stein has a double-digit lead. It shows 52% of voters are backing him, while only 37% support Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson. 10% are still undecided. Take a look at this video of Stein greeting voters earlier this morning at Chavis Community Center. Stein's platform includes supporting reproductive rights and addressing affordable housing. Robinson announced a public safety platform back in August, promising to crack down on drugs and violent crime. Stein and Robinson will both have watch parties tonight in Raleigh, so we'll have crews at both of those locations to keep you updated as those results roll in. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
Now, Stein's challenger, Lieutenant Governor Robinson, has numerous appearances scheduled today, including 2 stops in Wake County this afternoon. He kicked off the day at a polling place in Guilford County, and then he'll make his way to those 2 Wake County stops. We'll be watching this race closely and keep you updated on the results.
The latest exclusive WRAL poll shows a very close race for the next leader of North Carolina's public schools. WRAL's Laura Levine explains what Michelle Morrow and Mo Green say they want to do as state superintendent.
Here at the Herbert C. Young Community Center, we have seen a steady line of people head this way and through those doors to cast a ballot. And among those key issues that we're talking about, the big races, the race to oversee North Carolina's public schools remain, as you mentioned, extremely tight. According to the latest WRAL News poll, 42% of likely voters said they supported Republican Michelle Morrow, while 41% said they plan to vote for Democrat Mo Green. Green brought years of experience to this race. He's a former superintendent of Guilford County Schools and was most recently the executive director of the Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation. One big campaign platform for Green focused on public school initiatives. Morrow entered the race as a political outsider who had little experience with education policy. She's a former nurse and a homeschooler and has considered this an asset for this role. She has focused on addressing school safety and security, among other issues, throughout this campaign. Now, her background as an outsider and controversial social media posts, including ones calling for the executions of prominent Democrats, has been criticized throughout this race. Now, Morrow is planning to have a campaign watch party tonight here in Cary. Meanwhile, Democrat Mo Green, he plans to watch the results coming in at his home. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Cary.
Chris Levingood here in the WRAL Live Center. One thing that I'm monitoring are some of the different polling locations that are across America. And actually, within the past 5 minutes, we saw former President Donald Trump. He was spoken after he had cast his ballot down in Florida there. Someone asked him about the concerns some people have if he were to lose, would he concede? And he said, quote, "If it's a fair election, I'll be the first one to acknowledge it. So far, I think it's been fair." Let me show you another videos that I've been seeing here as well. Just different ones as I hit refresh here. Different places across America right now. We've got Governor Tim Walz there running for vice president with Kamala Harris in that video there. And we're also watching some other situations here, including Sky 5 right now in Briar Creek above one polling location. And there's clearly a line there.
Count on WRAL all day long. We'll have the fastest results and most comprehensive coverage when the polls close tonight. Starting at 7 p.m., WRAL News and NBC News will partner for results and analysis on local and national races. Then be sure to watch our news at 11 for live team coverage of the local and national results.
And for nonstop North Carolina election coverage, you can watch WRAL News, WRAL News Plus, and Fox 50 starting at 7 p.m. We'll have reporters across the state at the candidates' watch parties and live analysis as the results come in. You can watch WRAL News Plus on Spectrum Channel 1257, Channel 34 over the air, and wherever you stream WRAL. Take a live look at stocks right now on this Election Day Tuesday. Trading on Wall Street, you see the Dow Jones Industrial Average has been in positive territory all morning long, up 338 points right now. And this all ahead of the Fed's meeting next week to decide on another interest rate cut potential.
It's a warm afternoon for voters. Our temperatures will reach near record highs. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner in the Weather Center with a look at how long we will be well above normal.
We're going to see this trend continuing at least for the next 3 or 4 days. We take a live look at Apex right now, and you can see partly cloudy skies. It's busy down Salem Street. Plenty of people out and about walking around. It's such a beautiful day. Right now it is 79 degrees. Our dew point is 61, but that's still on the comfortable side. We've almost hit 80, and 81 is our record high. And since we're at 79 right now, it wouldn't be completely out of the question. 76 Southern Pines, 76 in Clinton, 77 Rocky Mount, and 72 in Roxborough. Just a beautiful day all across the viewing area. So temperatures will be in the upper 70s to low 80s all the way up until around 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon. If you're going to be one of the last ones in line to vote, temperature at 7 o'clock, 67, and then our temperatures will hold in the 60s. It's actually going to be a fairly mild night for us tonight. We'll see partly cloudy skies for the rest of the day. That 80 is very close to the record high. If we hit 81, we'll tie it. That was set back in 2004. We are also watching the tropics, of course. We had the latest advisory come in, and Tropical Storm Rafael is sitting just off the coast there of Montego Bay, Jamaica. Winds at 60 miles per hour. But before it makes landfall here in Cuba, it is likely to become a Category 1 storm overnight tonight. Then potentially approaching the coast of Louisiana at 50 mile per hour winds as a tropical storm, and that would happen over the weekend. The big question is it going to take a right turn and send some much needed rain our way early next week? I'll show you what the possibilities are coming up.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Next at noon, a questionable choice for a costume worn by an Australian football official at an end-of-season party. His explanation for this coming up.
Also, just about halfway through Election Day in the East and potentially a long wait ahead, how elections officials are urging patience with the process.
Plus, a recall alert on some types of brie cheese, the stores where it was sold.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
Offensive, inappropriate, and in poor taste. That is how Australian Football League describes the costume worn by an umpire at an end-of-season celebration. Lee Howson dressed in an Osama bin Laden costume for a function in Melbourne. The theme was characters from the 2000s. Bin Laden was the founder of the al-Qaeda militant group who was killed in 2011 during a U.S. Special Ops raid. The league banned Howson from officiating the opening round of next season. For his part, Howson says he never meant to offend anyone. The Boeing strike is over. Almost 60% of its union workers voted to accept the company's third offer. It includes 38% raises over 4 years, and that includes an immediate 13% raise and a $12,000 bonus. Workers will return to work tomorrow. President Biden released a statement congratulating both sides for coming to an agreement.
Election workers in the western part of our state have put in a lot of time making sure everything is in order after the devastation from Helene. This is new video of a polling location in Black Mountain from this morning. Buncombe County's elections director says they had to send out new absentee ballots after some people lost their homes. They also had to come up with new plans for where people could vote today in Buncombe County and surrounding areas. State Board of Elections Director Karen Brinson Bell says her office is monitoring all polling locations, especially in the mountains.
At this time, we are unaware of any disruptions or delays at polling places that may necessitate extending voting hours beyond 7:30 p.m. That's simply remarkable, considering more than 2,600 polling places opened statewide this morning.
Bell says if necessary, the State Board of Elections will call an emergency meeting to consider any extension of the voting period.
It's been said, but it bears repeating, we may not know the winner of the race for the White House for some time. Laura Aguirre explains how elections officials are urging patience on what's sure to be a long day.
For President 3 for Kamala Harris, 3 for Donald Trump.
It's a split vote in the nation's first ballots cast on Election Day in the tiny U.S.-Canadian border town of Dixville Notch, New Hampshire. Population 6. Polls are now opening across the country, rolling east to west over the next few hours. In Pennsylvania, the largest battleground state up for grabs, voter confidence is mixed.
It seems very trustworthy. I dropped my ballot off, and who knows what's going to happen after this.
The state has been grappling with a turbulent early voting process that's seen claims of voter suppression and last-minute legal filings, described by one official as, quote, bad faith mass challenges. Officials there are working to reassure voters heading to the polls today.
Pennsylvania's election will be free, fair, safe, and secure.
The state's district attorney pulled no punches on potential disruptors.
Anybody who thinks it's time to play militia, F around and find out.
It's a message being echoed by fellow swing state Michigan.
We comply with state law just like any other jurisdiction.
That goes for voters and poll watchers, too.
If an observer is not going to follow the rules, we will have them removed. We have that authority here.
Also key to the vote count, patience.
It will be sometime after midnight. It's just the reality of counting hundreds of thousands of ballots.
Counting will begin as early as 6 p.m. Eastern in some states, with the last 2 to close their polls being Hawaii at midnight Eastern Time and Alaska at 1 a.m. Eastern Wednesday morning.
So after 2020, there have been a lot of changes made to a lot of those counting procedures. So it should be a little smoother than it was then.
Okay. We will all have patience, but look at this weather, though. No excuse not to vote weather-wise. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. I vote for sunshine, but I know we need some rain.
We do need some rain, but we may get it by, say, Thursday. And I'll show you that coming up in just a minute. But it's a pretty day out there. We take a live look down Fayetteville Street, and you can see the flags there moving around. So it's a little bit breezy. We're seeing some winds out of the southeast at about 10 to 15 miles per hour. It's nice and warm, 79 degrees currently, and our dew point is 61. So it's a beautiful day. Plenty of people out there enjoying the sunshine and warm temperatures. 76 in Southern Pines and in Goldsboro, 76 in South Hill, 72 in Roxboro, and a lot warmer than it was this time yesterday. In some places, 5 degrees, and others almost 15 degrees warmer than yesterday. So really feeling good, and it does look like we'll be close to a record high this afternoon. Looking at 80 for the high this afternoon, but we're already pretty close to it. So if we hit 81, we'll tie it, and 82 will break a record high for it today. We're about to change the pattern starting tomorrow. We do have a flow coming off the Atlantic right now. It's been producing some light showers across South Carolina and the western part of our state. We're not likely to see any of that rain, but our cold front continues to move eastward. It'll be crossing the Mississippi here just in a few hours. And there has been a good bit of rain with this, even some severe storms. As a matter of fact, down here in Louisiana, we've had a few tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings just in the last hour or so. Futurecast for tomorrow. Now, today we just stay like it is right now. Partly cloudy. It's going to be pretty. We'll wake up tomorrow morning to a good bit of cloud cover and maybe a bit of drizzle as well. And then we'll start to watch the rain rolling in, but not until fairly late. There's 5 p.m. We're still dry, but by midnight, we start to see some showers rolling in, and it's likely to be with us in the morning. Some of us will have a wet commute on Thursday morning, and it may be that it lasts on through the afternoon with the potential for some scattered showers, well into the day on Thursday. So we'll talk about how much rain we could see coming up in just a bit. Whatever it is, we definitely need it. This is a gorgeous shot that Danella Jarman sent us from Hillsborough. That was a sunset last night, a little crescent moon there. Beautiful color in the sky, a pretty one. We love your Weather Watcher photos. Go to WRAL.com, search Weather Watchers, and send us some of your photos. It's awfully warm. Our normal high for today is 67, and we'll be closer to 80 today, tomorrow, and Thursday before the temperatures begin to drop a little bit over the weekend. And it's supposed to be pretty chilly in the mornings, too. 43 is our normal low, 60 Wednesday, 65 Thursday, Friday, 63. So we continue to have some mild mornings as well. As a matter of fact, that Thursday low of 65 is really close to our average high for this time of year. We will see temperatures dropping a little bit after the front and the rain on Thursday, 75 on Friday, and low 70s on Saturday and Sunday. At the beginning of the newscast, we talked about Rafael and the fact that it might send some precipitation our way. If it does, it could be late Sunday and Monday. We'll take another look at that possibility coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks. Coming up on WRAL News at 4, we told you about the efforts to make sure voters in Helene-ravaged Western North Carolina are able to cast their ballots today. WRAL's Monica Casey will be live in Asheville with how to find to find out how well the process is working in both Buncombe and Yancey counties.
And then tonight at 6, an inside look at the process of counting absentee mail-in ballots in Wake County.
Here in the WRAL Live Center, yes, we are watching some of the local voting that's happening right now, like this video live at Sky 5 above the Briar Creek Community Center. But we're also watching cameras across the United States, including this one right here. This you're seeing on your screen is in Los Angeles County, California. And this is a vote-by-mail processing facility. And I'm showing you this to show you the transparency that county leaders across the United States are providing people so they can ensure that their votes are properly being counted. I want to show you one more thing here. This is kind of neat. So this is from the El Paso County camera in Colorado, and basically every so often it's been taking little snippets of video where if you press play on different ones here, you'll see people that are pulling up and then casting their ballots to do their civic duty.
Billionaire co-founder of Home Depot, Republican mega donor and outspoken supporter of Donald Trump, Bernard Marcus, has died. Marcus had a net worth of about $7.4 billion. He gained his fortune from establishing the Home Depot with Arthur Blank in 1978. The retail chain boasts 2,300 stores and a stock market valuation of nearly $400 billion. He was 95 years old. Meta plans to block new political ads on Facebook and Instagram past Election Day. The tech company has not said when it will lift the restriction, only that it will extend until later this week. Meta says political ads shown on the sites before October 29th will stay on its platforms. The extension comes as tech companies work to battle misinformation claims during the election season.
An American cheese company is pulling 6 different kinds of brie from store shelves over listeria contamination concerns. Savencia Cheese USA voluntarily issued the recall. It identified listeria after routine testing. The FDA says the recalled cheeses were sold in Aldi and Basket Market stores across 12 different states. Right now, North Carolina is not one of those states. Anyone who bought the products should return them for a full refund. There are no confirmed reports of illness at this time. Some U.S. retailers are taking a new approach to refund and restock policies. More retailers are offering returnless refunds. That's when they give the customer a refund, but also let them keep the item. The policy is often reserved for low cost or items with limited resale value. Retailers like Amazon often extend the practice on third-party items sold through their company. And some companies want to reduce shipping fees and processing time to recover the item for resale.
More than 1 million voters in our state are expected to get out and vote today. So we're keeping a close eye on questions and concerns on this election day.
Plus, filling a crucial need, how 2 healthcare specialists stepped up when they noticed a lack of a crucial safety garment. First, here's a look at the winning lottery numbers. Voters across the country are heading to the polls to decide local races as well as elect a new president. People have been streaming into polling places across our viewing area to make their voices heard. You're looking live at the polling site in Briar Creek, courtesy of Sky 5, those poll workers there. Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump are battling it out in 7 swing states, including North Carolina. WRAL's Chelsea Donovan is live at Green Road Community Center. And Chelsea, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, it's been pretty steady here all morning, Renee. This is a community center that's kind of sandwiched in between Capitol Boulevard and New Hope Road. They've had several hundred people come through the doors, but as you mentioned earlier, a little bit of a lull here around lunchtime. So if you come here, you'll be able to come right in. Of course, we know that 4.5 million North Carolinians have already cast their ballot during that crucial early voting period. That's about 57% of registered voters, but 1 million voters are expected to come out today at 2,600 polling places across our state. Let's show you some video that we captured earlier today. We want to remind folks that the polls are open until 7:30 this evening, and we understand from the state that if you are in line at 7:30, you still will be able to vote. You want to remember, though, to check your polling place and you can do so on the state board's website. And of course, you'll want to bring your voter ID. Of course, what's at stake? We've got a razor-thin margin for president between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. We should mention Trump did take our state back in 2020. Of course, there is the race for governor at stake between Josh Stein and Mark Robinson. Then you've got Attorney General, Mayor of the city of Raleigh, and of course, several House congressional seats. As I mentioned earlier, things have been going very smoothly here, and voters that we talked to say it's been really easy to come in and out and vote today.
Honestly, it felt pretty good. The lines wasn't long. I thought it was going to be, right around the building, and so I heard. But today was a good day. It was a good voting experience.
Of course, like I said, polls close at 7:30. Of course, they're going to have to do some canvassing. That is normal. However, they expect the bulk of the results to hit online between 9:30 and 11. I have to mention, we've been having a lot of fun out here. Let's go a little closer to the DJ at the polls. This is Raleigh DJ Smooth. People have been dancing, including Ed Wilson and I. Good thing they're not voting for Best Dancer because we would lose. But this is a nationwide movement that started back in 2008 to bring just a little bit of fun and jubilation to the polls. And I got to tell you, it's a lot of fun out here at Green Road. So, of course, come out and say hi to us. And if this is your polling place, you're kind of in for a good time. We're live in Raleigh. Chelsea Donovan, back to you.
It's a friendly environment, as Chelsea demonstrated there. Our crews have fanned out all across the triangle here from early this morning, where long lines greeted some voters at the Apex Community Center. Our crews were there when people started lining up as early as 5:30 this morning. Now, once the doors opened at 6:30 and the polls got going there, those lines moved very quickly. It was a similar story in Southeast Raleigh at the Chavis Community Center on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Voters at that site were also greeted by a DJ there to help put them in a festive mood. Attorney General Josh Stein stopped by to greet voters as they exercised their civic duty. And it was a similar scene in Cary as well. Voters arrived early there and then they disappeared inside to go vote. There was virtually no line outside this morning, but once inside, we are told by those folks that came out and reported to us, there was just a brief wait.
Nearly 80 million voters across the country voted early. Many attribute the record-breaking numbers to the race for the White House. It takes 270 electoral votes to claim victory. WRAL's Michelle McConaughey is here now with why the presidential race may be hard to call tonight. Michelle.
Yeah, Renee, new election laws mean election night results will be reported later than usual. Again, with this system, we will have up-to-the-minute numbers as soon as they start coming in this evening. But in both the 2016 and 2020 elections, a large chunk of results came out soon after polls closed. And that's because county boards were able to start counting early voting ballots before the polls closed. But now county boards have to wait until 7:30 tonight to begin the process of counting those ballots. It could take 30 to 60 minutes and maybe even longer in some counties before we'll see any unofficial early voting results. But the bulk of election results will be uploaded between 9:30 tonight and 11 o'clock tonight, given the drive time that it takes in many counties. So be sure to watch our 11 o'clock news for a wrap-up of all of the big local races.
Michelle, one thing we're watching here in the WRAL Live Center, how the stocks are doing today. Good afternoon. I'm Chris Lovingood. Come with me as I show you these headlines that we're seeing from CNBC, just essentially talking about how right now the stock market looking pretty good. But we need to put an asterisk next to that because this is before the election results, right? Let me show you what the Dow looks like right now. It's floating around the 400-point gain mark. That's why I put it in the banner there. It's been kind of shifting. First it was 300, now it's 400. One other thing I want to show you here, just in case you're interested, is how some of the companies here are doing locally from the stock market. Wolfspeed, for example, $13.08 it looks like. VinFast, $3.76. And IBM with a presence here locally, $207.29. So we're watching closely to see what else will be happening as the stock market reacts to Election Day.
And the fastest, most complete election results all night will be right at your fingertips in the WRAL News app. We'll alert you when key races are called. You can drill down to see the running count for races on your ballot. We'll map out how the vote unfolds state by state across the country. Make sure you have the latest version of the app to stay informed of the results as they come in.
A first-of-its-kind medical product for hospitals created by healthcare workers who saw a void. How they're using their pandemic experiences to help workers and patients feel safe and included.
A caterer backs out of a wedding after learning it's for a same-sex couple. the action that couple now plans to take.
Muslim women who work in the healthcare field often face a major challenge. That is finding the proper protective equipment. But now 2 respiratory therapists from Minnesota are breaking new ground. They met in school, then worked at hospitals across the country. As healthcare workers wearing hijabs, they face challenges.
They had a beard cover. And we looked at each other like, beard cover, like they even have beard cover, why not hijab cover? You know, we're just like, this is okay. Something has to be out there.
The co-founders say the hijabs are for anyone, including patients. They've even had people use them to cover hair braids or for extra protection around their head. Next year, they plan to launch a modest scrub line with skirts, dresses, and more.
North Carolina's new carbon plan moves the timeline on reducing emissions. Some say it could slow the state's clean energy progress. The Utility Commission's latest order eases the 2030 deadline for 70% emissions reduction. In addition to more solar and battery storage, Duke Energy plans to add natural gas and nuclear plants. Clean energy advocates worry this could mean change and delays in meeting climate targets and higher rates.
Many utilities across the Southeast are also building out their gas generation fleets and assets. And all that is going to do is make it more competitive for procuring the fuel to power these plants. And that could drive up costs and impact ratepayers more greatly as a continuing cost down the road.
The plan also defers offshore wind development, asking Duke to gather more information before moving forward.
A police chase in California ends with a car flying off a cliff. And can you believe the driver survived? What police have ruled out as to what could have caused the crash. Plus,
I don't want any threats made to them or their family or their employees.
A same-sex couple plans to take legal action after a business canceled an agreement to cater their wedding. The similarities this has to another case in the same state. And we'll give you this live look right now in Clinton. Those big puffy clouds up there, but blue skies above, 76 degrees in Clinton. Good afternoon to you. And a breeze, certainly, as you can see, an American flag starched out right there. As you watch WRAL News, available on YouTube TV and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device.
a same-sex couple in Washington state plans to take action against a popular restaurant that backed out of catering their wedding. The couple and the owner of the business discussed the event for a month over social media. After meeting the business owner in person to finalize the deal, the owner canceled.
The part of a wedding being a religious ceremony and a religious act between a man and a woman goes against my beliefs and my faith, and I cannot participate.
Telling you after they visually see you two together that that's not something they can move forward with it's something you just can't really comprehend in the moment.
In 2013, a florist in Washington state refused to provide flowers for a gay couple's wedding. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled the owner broke the state's anti-discrimination law, and the owner agreed to pay a $5,000 settlement to the couple in 2021.
One person was seriously hurt after driving off a cliff in California following a police chase. Officers say it started when a driver crashed into a fence at a government office and didn't stop. Police started chasing the car, but then ended the pursuit because of safety concerns. The driver crashed less than a half mile from where police ended the chase.
It didn't have any abnormal speeds. It just looked like somebody driving down the coast, but they had the police vehicles behind them. They had hazards on, going 40, 50 miles per hour, drove off, hit the cliff.
The cause of the incident is still under investigation. Carlsbad, California police do not believe drugs or alcohol were factors in the crash.
Warmer, drier weather is forecast for much of the month of November. Meteorologist Chris Michaels joins us with a look at some of the possible consequences this could bring to North Carolina.
Part of the draw to living in North Carolina is that we get all 4 seasons, but so far this fall has been a warm one. We haven't even had our first freeze yet, which on average is happening later and later. Over the past 5 to 10 years, it's on average happening in the second week of November. And at this point, we may not see our first freeze of the fall until later in the month. That would rival the record that was set back in 2009 when our first freeze at RDU was November 28th. Looking at the next 3 to 4 weeks, high pressure centered over the eastern U.S. Sinking air with that has a warming effect. Looks like we'll be warmer than average for much of the rest of November. We've also been very dry ever since Helene, right? Before that, 40 days, we had 14 inches of rain. The 40 days since, we've only had about a half an inch of rain. Now, aside from the rain chance that we see this week, much of the next few weeks likely to be drier than average. That means that drought could settle into parts of North Carolina, including the eastern half of the state. Right now on WRAL.com, I'm showing you the latest outlook for wildfires across North Carolina.
Chris, thanks. And I know we need the rain, but dry weather on Election Day and sunny skies like this, that is a good thing. That can certainly help boost turnout.
And we're putting that freeze on hold for sure. Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center right now. Those clouds are not the rain-producing type today, anyway.
They are not. However, just to our west, the mountains are seeing a little bit of light patchy rain and down into South Carolina, and we'll get into it tomorrow night. That's when it finally arrives here. We do have some clouds there in Fayetteville, as well as Apex, some big puffy cumulus clouds in Raleigh and in Chapel Hill, but not likely to see any rain anywhere in our viewing area today. That Chapel Hill camera, courtesy of Top of the Hill Restaurant. So what are we looking at for rain Wednesday night into Thursday? And it may last for a good chunk of the day Thursday, certainly the first half of Thursday and maybe into the middle of the afternoon. An average of around 1/4 of an inch. It may be a little lower than that in the north, maybe a little higher than that in our southern counties, and we'll see it scattered across North Carolina, but definitely encompassing our viewing area. We take a look at where that rain is right now. You can see it moving toward the Mississippi Valley, about to cross the valley. And then here's that rain that I was telling you about a little bit earlier, and I just mentioned in South Carolina and in western North Carolina. We see just a few showers, and that is because of what we call an upslope flow. As we see that air coming from the southeast moving to the northwest, it gains a little elevation, and that lift in elevation as it moves up squeezes out a little bit of rain. It's patchy and light. Not going to really measure too much in the rain gauges, but we won't end up seeing that here. So we'll continue to watch this front, the southern end of that front producing some severe storms currently. We don't likely see rain until we get into tomorrow night, and then of course up through the morning, midday for Thursday. This is not tomorrow, this is going to be Thursday. So Wednesday night into Thursday is when we'll have the best chance of seeing any rain. So we've got 20% on for Wednesday, but it's likely to be, probably 10 or 11 p.m. Wednesday before we see much of that rain. We might see a little bit of drizzle in the morning, but nothing that's really going to measure up in the rain gauges. And then a 50% chance on Thursday. It's more likely in the south, less likely in the north, and some of those heavier amounts will be in the south. We're going to be watching Saturday, Sunday, Monday, just to kind of see what happens with Raphael. If it does sort of swing up in our direction, we could add a little bit to this. But at least in the next 3 days, probably around 1/2 an inch in our southern counties, 1/4 of an inch in the triangle, and maybe just 1/10 of an inch to the north. But look at this. I mean, down around Columbia, parts of South Carolina and Georgia could end up seeing 2 or 3 inches of rain in the same time period. We take a look at Raphael and talk about where it is right now. We'll head back down to the south and take a look at that forecast path. Again, it's likely to become a Category 1 hurricane by the next 24 hours and then weaken as it makes landfall potentially here along the Gulf Coast. The question is it just going to hang around here and dissipate? Some of the models dissipate it just kind of sitting there on the coast of Louisiana, or will it get swept up and move off to the north and east and bring us a little bit of rain? So here are kind of the two scenarios. A weaker storm would leave it here, and a stronger storm would steer it up toward North Carolina. Again, we're just talking about a small chance for rain. Once we get past Thursday, it looks like we'll see a nice dry weekend for the most part on Saturday and Sunday. Stick with us. We'll be right back with your top stories.
As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following today.
Polls have been open across the state for more than 6 hours, and we have seen a steady stream of voters heading into buildings to cast their ballots. There are 2,600 polling sites across the state open until 7:30 tonight. If you're in line at 7:30, you will vote. Don't forget to check your polling place and, of course, bring your voter ID.
North Carolina is one of 7 states that will essentially determine the next president. The final poll data from realclearingpolling.com, which averages dozens of polls, including our WRAL News poll, shows how close the race is here in North Carolina. Donald Trump has a polling advantage of just over 1 point over Kamala Harris, a razor-thin margin.
The race for North Carolina's next governor has gained national attention. Today, we could learn whether Democratic Attorney General Josh Stein or Republican Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson will move into the governor's mansion. Stein has held a commanding lead in the polls over Robinson, whose scandal-ridden campaign has been written off by a number of political observers for the past 6 weeks.
A small town in northern New Hampshire kicked off its traditional midnight vote early this morning. The town is Dixville Notch, and for 60 years, the town's 6 registered voters have gathered at the Balsams Resort to cast the first votes on Election Day. Well, this year's race for president was a tie, and that seems to track with national polling. We will see what happens tonight.
Every vote counts. Kelly Clarkson will once again host this year's tree lighting ceremony in New York's Rockefeller Center. Clarkson made the announcement yesterday on her show. She also teased the event, saying it will have the best music, star-studded surprises, and of course the lighting of the Christmas tree. You can watch it all on December 4th here on WRAL.
Our pet of the day is a delightful canine companion with a heart as big as his love for chew toys. This is Chester from Perfect Match. He's 2 years old, weighs around 60 pounds, and Chester loves to give hugs. He is highly food motivated during training sessions. He needs to remain on a low-fat diet, though. Chester loves teens and would likely do best as an only pet. Contact Perfect Match Rescue to meet Chester.
Well, the words have all been spoken. The rallies have all been staged. The commercials will stop. Now it is down to the American people. Our election team coverage continues on WRAL News at 4 with live reports from both Harris and Trump's election night headquarters.
NBC News Daily is next on WRAL, your next local news update in 30 minutes.
And you can get breaking news updates anytime with our WRAL News app. Go out and vote.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.